Hey everyone, John Wedel here, and welcome to the 21,000 click case study that I've got here for you today. In case you have absolutely no idea who I am and you've somehow magically ended up here, my name's John, that's me right there, and I'll save you the boring spiel about myself, but I do believe in personal connections, so I'll share a little bit about my story with you, just so you have an idea that I'm not just some talking head behind a computer screen and I am a real person. So I started my first online advertising campaigns when I was just 14 years old. I'm 20 now, so that was 6 years ago. Now, by the time I was a senior in high school, I'd already made six figures in a year. So high school got old real quick. I made a kind of horrible decision at the time to drop everything, fly over to Europe, and work with one of France's largest advertising networks. And I handled all of their media buying. It always blew my mind the amount of leverage you could get using online traffic and actually having people throw their money at you regardless of what you were doing, whether you were sleeping or whatever. And I know it's all cliche, but living that internet lifestyle, right? So since then, I've gone on to create multiple businesses, one of which I'm going to show you today that caters to the business-to-business market. So what you're going to learn today, I don't know if you're here from the Facebook post or not, but I posted and just asked if anyone would be interested in a little campaign I ran where we got 21,000 clicks with about $5,000 worth of ad spend. Now, the campaign went pretty good. Like, we made a really positive ROI, and you'll learn why in a few moments. But there were a lot of really big mistakes we made as well. So what I'm going to cover today are going to be the real-life targeting, the landing pages, the strategies used, along with what I sold, and really the overall view of what happened, along with some sort of theory and knowledge that you can apply to your own business, some lessons there. And I'm not going to sit here and show you this campaign and just show you the good stuff either. I'm not going to act like I'm some, Jesus reincarnate like all these gurus do and that everything goes perfectly, because that wasn't the case. There's a lot of things I did horribly wrong, and I'll share those with you as well because I think there's some big lessons you can learn from that. So with that said, let's jump into the basic bare bones on what this campaign runs off of. So the three components that I use on every single successful advertising campaign are these. The first is traffic, right? You obviously have to have eyeballs on your page. Without people seeing your stuff, you'll never get anywhere. So this is obviously going to be things like Facebook, where everyone's at right now, Google AdWords, Bing, SEO if you're into that. I'm personally not, but all kinds of different ways to do it, but you need to get traffic. Then in my opinion, and this is something I didn't do for a long time, but I find incredibly important, and again, another cliche is that the money's in the list, but you have to be building a list. I like to get my traffic to an opt-in regardless of what I'm doing. If I'm getting a phone consultation for a high ticket product, if I'm doing a webinar, if I'm doing a low end product, whatever it is, I think you have to get that email right there so that you can market to them later on and build that relationship, because they're not really necessarily going to buy from you that first time they meet you. Then after that, a call to action, depending on what kind of campaign you're running. Obviously, like I said, there's a lot of different end goals that you can have, so getting them to actually take some form of action so that you can make an ROI and positively measure your campaign and make sure that it's going well. Now, like I said, this is just my opinion. These are the three things that I think are most important. There'll be people who say you need a tripwire here and a profit maximizer, and don't get me wrong, Ryan Deiss is a genius, but I think that can be further simplified for people who haven't put out a funnel of any sort. You can break it down to just these three steps and make it really simple. Now, the problem with this is that there's a couple moving pieces, right? And if you screw one up, it kind of lets down the other parts. And I'll give you a little hint. Mine was here. I screwed up the opt-in completely. My call to action was great, traffic was pretty good, but the opt-in, I made a big boo-boo, and I'll share it with you in just a moment. Now we've got these three steps, but those aren't enough, right? You have to know what to do with them. And the secret to manufacturing successful campaigns every time and getting these steps perfectly is to start from the end, to really have your end goal in mind from the beginning. So for this particular campaign, my goal was to generate sales for a $5,000 business-to-business video training program. Okay, now this program was geared towards gym owners. Now, I'm not going to sell that $5,000 product off of a sales page. I'm not going to sell it with a video sales letter. It wouldn't work with a webinar. So what I had to do is get them on the phone so I could have a phone consultation and then sell there, where the conversion rates are really high and you're really able to make that connection and convince them that it is a good investment. So I knew that I wanted phone consultation, so that's where I started. Now let's look at this campaign. So the call to action was, hey, get on the phone with me. So I started here. I knew that's what I wanted. So I said, okay, well, how am I going to do that, right? How can I get people to think I'm worthy of getting on the phone with me? So that led me to realizing that I wanted to educate up front a little bit and use a training video with a really strong call to action to get on the phone. So I had that part covered. I created a training video with a call to action. Now I created an opt-in page saying, hey, there's this awesome video, you should check it out. So because we started from the end, now we've got ourselves our call to action, our opt-in page, and that leaves us with traffic. And the reason I like to do that is we have options, okay? We can make it work anywhere we want. You can take it from Facebook to AdWords, Bing, solo ads, media buys, whatever you want to do, because we started from the end. So now that you have that big picture, let's break down each one of these 3 steps that I used, and I'll show you where I went right and where I didn't go so right as well. We'll start with Facebook ads, and I'll just jump over to my campaign manager right now and just show you inside of there. Alright, so here we are inside of my Facebook campaign manager, and I'm going to show you the exact campaign, the targeting, everything. I'm not going to blur anything out so you can get a real good look at the actual behind the scenes and learn something today. Now, one thing I want to note is that you're going to see here I spent $5,000 on this campaign, and I got a couple PMs and people are like, dude, I can't afford to spend $5,000 and just drop it. And don't worry, you don't have to do that. In fact, you shouldn't do that, and that's one of the reasons why this campaign didn't go as great as it should have. Was I got carried away, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. But you can take like a small chunk of money and spend it. Like with this campaign, when I started it, I think I only spent between $500 or $800 at first. Got a nice handful of phone numbers, went in, did about $15,000 in sales, and then I realized, okay, these leads are awesome. I'm targeting the right people. They need my help. I'm going to scale this thing up like crazy. And then I just blasted it off. And we'll talk about the landing page and why it went wrong in a moment. But don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about dropping that much money. You can start small and scale up, and I highly recommend you do. So we're going to talk, and we're going to start with the ads design. All I said was, gym owners, 5-minute and 42-second video reveals how to double your gym memberships while working less. That's exactly what the video told them how to do. There's no hype, fluff, or anything like that. I think in Facebook ads, a lot of times people try to get crazy, and you have the pictures of the chicks with big tits and guns and flames and red borders. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? If you're paying for a website click, you get that click, you get them to your website. You want to make sure that this advertisement is absolutely relevant to the next page that they're going to see, which is your landing page. That congruency between that ad and the landing page are going to be huge, and you can see the way that this was set up, you know, no guns, flames, red borders and stuff. It felt really good to these people because, like, look at that social engagement, 566 likes, 145 comments. These were like all people tagging their friends, like, hey, there's this interesting article, check it out. Like, really the power of native advertising in play still. All these people tagging their friends like it's an interesting piece of content, and 44 organic shares on this paid advertisement, which is pretty sweet. So I just do newsfeed. I don't like doing right-hand side. They actually just implemented that new right-hand side, which I haven't got around to testing much yet, but I think you can generally just stick to newsfeed ads. And you'll see here that I did desktop and mobile. In the future, I would not do mobile again on this type of campaign. Like afterwards, you can add it in. But just to start, I do desktop because your conversion rates are going to be much higher on desktop than they are on mobile. If you think just about the frame of mind someone's in, sitting down at their computer versus sitting on the toilet with their iPhone, they kind of don't really care about your stuff as much because they got other stuff on their mind, right? So that's just something worth noting. I could have done a little bit better. Now the targeting for this, really simple. It's something I think a lot of people freak out too much over, and especially given that Facebook got rid of custom audiences and people get all worried and freak out. The reality of this is all you have to do is think about what kind of stuff does my prospect talk about and share on Facebook, and what can I do to really narrow down to who I want to target. So for me, we started at 18 and older, and we got a bunch of young people who didn't have gyms who wanted them. So we just kept bumping the age until we got to 24 seemed to be like the sweet spot where they actually had a business. Just something worth noting that, you know, sometimes super young people aren't going to be that successful and might not be the best leads for you. Gonna depend on your niche, obviously. Countries, I wanted just like the main English-speaking countries, so I got United States, New Zealand, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia. And then what I did was I decided to go for small business owners. Now we went with the the option on Facebook, right? They let you target people who actually have pages that are small businesses. So that was great. Now, there's no way to say, hey, I want to target a gym owner other than scraping and custom audiences, but at this point in time, didn't want to do that. So what I did was said small business owners who have an interest in whey protein, CrossFit, Gaspari Nutrition, which is a nutrition company, Personal Training Institute, squats, creatine, deadlifts. These are all really like narrowed down things related to working out. Now you'll see that the problem with this is that small business owners who like CrossFit, well, there's a lot of people who own businesses that aren't gyms who like CrossFit, which is why my click-through rate was only around 2.7%. But that's still not horrible, right? So these are just some things with Facebook that you have to think about when you're making your audience. But this audience pulled really, really well because I said, okay, I want people who own businesses who are interested in fitness-related topics. There we go. That's all there was to it. I think people, you can make a whole course about this and confuse people, but just think about, like, put yourself in your prospect's mind and be like, okay, what would I be talking about? What would I like? I know these people who own gyms, they're usually gym rats. They're fitness freaks. So they're going to be talking about all these workouts and supplements and companies. And they're obviously going to, or hopefully going to own a page for their gym. So those two things together allowed me to create this crazily successful ad campaign. And that's this part. Now for the bidding, I think that'll be another thing I should probably touch on. They suggested, like, I think 15 or 30 cents per click. I ended up I usually start around 10 cents above the maximum bid. Okay, so if they say between 15 to 30, I'll go ahead and bid 40 cents. Just because I like to get traffic from the beginning and not play the waiting game. You'll notice you probably won't ever pay near your max bid. You can see mine was 80 cents and I was only paying 22 cents. What happened after I made the first couple sales was I said, I want all this traffic. I don't care how much it costs me. I'm going to go, and I kept upping it until I found the sweet spot, which was around 80 cents. I knew I could afford to pay more for this traffic than my competitors could because they were all selling like $47 ebooks and ClickBank products. Meanwhile, I was selling a $5,000 product, right? So big difference in our amount of profit and the amount of money we can spend for advertisements. So that's the Facebook side of things. Let's go jump over to the next step now and talk about the big mistake. Cool, so now let's talk about the opt-in. Now this is the part that I royally screwed up, alright? I'm going to show you a couple different landing pages I made, explain a thing or two about split testing and why it kind of screwed me over and how I kind of jumped the gun with it. And one thing I'll just say is for opt-in pages, I highly recommend using lead pages. It's what I use, and I mean it's super cheap and lets me mess around with a lot of different things without having to be very good at web design or anything like that. So, I mean, if you're in this industry, you probably already use it. If you don't, highly recommend you check it out. It's what I'm going to be using. So let's jump over there, and I'll show you my landing pages and what not to do. Okay, so here we are inside of the lead pages account, and I've got this blurred out just to give you some transparency. A lot of these are for clients that I do lead gen for. You might be able to see client lead gen, and I obviously don't want to be giving away their names and stuff, but you can see these two here. I've got gym owners video and gym owners test. Now we've got a couple different A/B split tests in those, and you can see here this is the one that I ran. I got 19,732 visitors, 2,356 opt-ins with a 12% opt-in rate. Now that is horrible, garbage, awful conversion rate, especially with that much traffic, okay? Now that's the big mistake I made. I was getting the emails, right? I was paying, like, I can't remember how much it was on Facebook, like I think 25 cents a click, so a quarter a click. That's not bad at all. So I was telling myself, you know what? It's only getting like 12%, but that's all right because I'm only paying like $2 an email, and I was getting phone consultations for about, I think 1 in 10 at that point, so about 10, 20 bucks a pop. So that was really awesome. I was stoked on that. Not bad. But that was sort of that curse where you're sitting there saying, you know what, good is good enough. I'm all right here. That's fine. It wasn't until afterwards on a different campaign that I found out you can get much, much higher conversion rates. And, I want to show you the pages that are actually really embarrassingly bad. It's very apparent why I got such a low rate. But I got a very similar amount of opt-ins with just a fraction of the traffic, right? And when we're talking about spending thousands and thousands of dollars, that's kind of a big mistake to be making, okay? So you think the difference between a 12% and a 41% conversion is just absolutely huge, right? When we're talking about a $5,000 product, that's massive. On this campaign, I could have had 4 times the amount of people, or 3 times, right? that would have been a lot more money and not very good. So that's a big takeaway for you, is to make sure you split test and actually, track, and don't settle for good, because good generally isn't good enough. You can always make things a bit better. So let's look at some of these pages, and I'll explain to you why it converted so horribly and how to prevent that from happening. So this is our ugly, awful 12% page that we ended up with, and you're going to look at it and be like, dude, what the hell were you thinking? Why would you use that? It's bright and ugly, and there's lots of text, and it's red and stuff. And what happened was I set up like a gajillion different little split tests, and they were little A/B split tests. So what happened was I just said, okay, I'm going to try the different headline, I'm going to try different colors, different backgrounds, and for the most part, though, I left the idea of the page the same. Now that's the problem with this like A/B split testing a lot of people do, is the general idea stays the same. And I was just talking to someone yesterday, and they said, okay, well, do you do A/B split testing? I said, not really. I like to do like an apples to carrots to cheeseburgers kind of comparison, and really go like all over the place at first when you're testing, because you don't want to be split testing a word on a page that sucks, right? Like maybe people didn't want to double their gym memberships, and it doesn't matter if I say download now or get instant access, or if this is red or blue. It doesn't matter. If people don't give a shit, they're not going to give a shit point blank, depending on the words you put on the page. So luckily enough, that wasn't the problem. People do actually want to know how to double their gym memberships. But this page was horrible, because I was just doing all these little tiny split tests, and oh wow, okay, the blue works better there, oh the red works better there, okay, nice, and it ended up just looking like this, and it wasn't good. So this was like a really complicated design, and stay away from this. You don't need big crazy pages with everything on it. In fact, I decided, I'm just gonna bust out the like standard lead pages page right here. You can see this is like the default one that comes with it. Free video reveals how to double your gym's revenue this year while working less. Enter your email. And this one actually converted, I think, at around 18%, just like a few points higher, but just right out of the box, like without changing anything on it. So all this work trying to make it look beautiful versus lead pages just standard worked better. Now it worked really well to make it happen. I thought, okay, you know what? We moved in the opposite direction. We started stripping away the unnecessary bullshit that people don't even care to read. Let's just stick with the absolute bare minimum to tell these people what they're going to get and not confuse them. So I ended up with this. Free video reveals, watch as I show you how to double your gym memberships while working less. Get instant access. And there's literally nothing else on the page. If you've done any studies or like looked up Dean Jackson or anything he teaches, like these kind of landing pages work great, and it makes sense because it's not distracting. This is exactly what the ad told them they were going to get, right? A lot of people, their ad will say like, hey, learn how to make more money in your gym, and then the next page will say, hey, here's how to double your gym memberships. But what happens is the guy wanted to make more money, and that doesn't necessarily mean he wants to double his gym memberships, right? So it's keeping the language the same, keeping that congruency through each step, and I think that's why this worked so well and got the 40+% conversion, because I stripped away all the unnecessary bullshit and ended up with this. So you can see, just for a little juxtaposition, that's something my I think like grade 10 English teacher would probably love me for saying right now. The comparison between these two is just phenomenal, right? The same amount, roughly the same amount of opt-ins for just crazily different amounts of traffic. And like I said, I wish I could go back and punch myself in the face for not doing this sooner, but I got lazy and just said, you know what, let's run with it. Would have made 3 or 4 times the amount of money had I not done that. So make sure to test wildly different landing pages. Don't settle for good. Make sure you push yourself and try to get good opt-in rates. Like I've had opt-in rates go up to 60-70% sometimes with good amounts of traffic on them now, and I look at this and I laugh, and I look at this ugly page, and it serves as a reminder never to do that again. So hopefully you can learn something from that. And if you're interested in learning a bit more about landing pages, I wouldn't be a good marketer if I didn't leave some sort of hook for you. If you're interested, I'm going to be releasing some more free video training on how to do this, but I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail today. So just watch on Facebook or wherever you heard about this from, and I'll definitely send you some stuff soon. But now let's go into how I actually got these people to sign up for the $5,000 program and got their information in the next step. Alright, so we're on our third and final step now. We've got people from Facebook to our landing page, got them opted in. Now it's time for our call to action. So I want to get them on the phone so I can sell them a $5,000 program and squander their money on crazy, silly things. So let's jump over now and I'll show you the landing page that I used. So this is the page here, real simple, just my name, the headline, 5-minute 42-second video, double your gym memberships. The video began playing automatically. I had the classic, white and black, ugly video sales letter kind of thing. All it was a 5-minute video showing them how to go in and run a promotion using Facebook ads. Really simple stuff. Then at the end, all I said was, hey man, if you're confused about this stuff in any way, shape, or form, I'm so awesome, I'd be more than happy to jump on the phone with you, talk about how we can use this in your business together, give you a plan if you like it. Awesome. If not, that's great too. Really Frank Kern-esque, right? I mean, obviously, if you're in the industry, you probably know about the guy. I think this is probably one of the most ripped off things. Everyone's like, yeah, I'm a consultant now, and kind of went after his sort of process, which, I mean, has been around for years, but he really popularized the, would you like me to personally help you for free, as you can see right there. So obviously, shout out to him for that. Worked really well, and I gathered their information here using Wufoo. I just put the form in. If you're not familiar, Wufoo.com, it's a company that allows you to collect people's information, use it for all my leads, and then they just put in their stuff, describe your business to me, your email, phone number, goals, why haven't you reached your goals, and what time should I call you. And then I had that direct to a calendar where they could book in and speak to me. And one part that went wrong here was, like I said, during the ads, as I shot the campaign up way too fast, we ended up with like 300 to 400 people filling this out. So I had to take on people to sell for me. I couldn't do it myself, and it grew like way too fast. Was not expecting it. So, it's a good problem to have, though. Can't complain, but you can see that's really simple. One thing to note that I could have improved was the video was only 5 minutes. I had a lot of people. I called them, and I was like, hey man, I'm here to talk to you about your gym. And they're like, dude, who are you? I'm like, you just watched the video. They're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, dude, you just watched the video and you filled out the form. I don't remember. I'm like, dude, I have your freaking application. Like, I know your name. How would I know that? And like, are you a telemarketer? I'm like, holy crap. And it's just not a good feeling. Also, like, I was cold calling some of these people. We remedied this in a later campaign by making the videos around 20 minutes. They spend 5 minutes with you, you're just a cheap fling. They spend 20 minutes, you've really wined and dined them, right? So it works out better if you spend more time with the prospect before that point of contact and then jumped on the phone with them and sold to them from there. So that's the campaign in a nutshell. So that's all for today's case study. I hope you enjoyed seeing the different parts of it and really seeing a behind-the-scenes look at one of these high-ticket phone consultation style of funnels that you see a lot of people doing but not really using paid traffic for. So hopefully it's something you can go out and use, replicate in your own business, start getting some leads, make some sales, and some lessons to learn. If there was one takeaway that I could give you today, I hope it's that good isn't good enough, okay? If I hadn't been lazy, I could have got 4 times the emails and leads and sales, right? And we're not talking about $7 ebooks. We're talking about $5,000 sales here, right? We're not playing small. So, like I said in the Facebook post, I want to go back and punch old past John in the face for being lazy, but it is what it is, right? So hopefully you can learn from that and make some more money than I did with it. So I do have a quick favor to ask of you today. There obviously is nothing for sale, but if you did like this content, go ahead and share some social media love below. Give it a like, share, tweet, whatever you tend to do most. And please leave me a comment with your thoughts. I'd love to know what you thought about today's video. Let me know if there's anything I could have touched more on. I do plan on making some more training if there's an interest in how to actually, create better campaigns, better landing pages, how to actually sell on the phone, things like that. If you're interested, leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought, and I'll create some more training for you. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you soon.